The dusty wind of the small frontier town carried whispers as a thin woman stumbled into the marketplace. Her clothes were torn, her hands cracked, and her eyes hollow from hunger. Clara had lost everything, her husband to sickness, her small farm to debt collectors, and her dignity to endless rejection. She approached one shop after another, begging for work, any work at all. But no one would take her in, not with her ragged appearance and trembling voice. Some turned their heads in pity, others in disgust. As the sun dipped low, Clara fell to her knees outside the blacksmith's shop, whispering through tears, "I'll do anything, just give me a chance." The townsfolk walked past, pretending not to see. But someone else did see. From across the street, a tall man stood quietly, his broad hat shadowing his face. His coat was clean but worn, his presence commanding yet gentle. He was Samuel, a wealthy rancher known for his vast lands, his stern silence, and most of all, the sorrow of losing his wife years ago. His eyes lingered on Clara, not with judgment but with something else, recognition of pain. For Samuel knew what it was to be broken. And perhaps, just perhaps, he knew that broken things could be mended. The next morning, Clara awoke in the churchyard, her stomach aching with hunger. She was ready to move on, though she had nowhere to go. Just then, the sound of horseshoes approached. She looked up to see Samuel dismounting, his tall frame towering over her. "You were asking for work yesterday," he said, his voice low and steady. Clara nodded quickly, expecting another dismissal. Instead, Samuel surprised her. "I don't need another ranch hand," he continued. "What I need is someone, to be a mother to my girls." Clara's breath caught. She thought she had misheard. "Sir, I came only for labor. I have no right." But Samuel shook his head. "I've seen the way people looked at you. I don't care about rags. My daughters don't need wealth. They need kindness. They need someone who knows hardship and can still love." Her heart pounded. Was this man serious? To ask such a thing of a stranger, a beggar? But when she looked into his eyes, she saw not pity, but sincerity. Samuel extended his hand. "Come, meet them. If they don't take to you, then we part ways. But if they do, maybe you've found more than work here." Clara hesitated, her whole world trembling on the edge of change. And then, she took his hand. Samuel's ranch stretched wide across the plains, the fences strong and cattle grazing freely. Yet inside the grand home, the air was quiet, too quiet. Clara soon learned why. Two little girls stood by the doorway, watching her with guarded eyes. The eldest, no more than 10, crossed her arms protectively, while the younger clung shyly to her sister's dress. Their mother had died years ago, and in her absence, silence had become their shield. "This is Clara," Samuel introduced gently. "She's here to help." Clara knelt down, ignoring the dust on her dress, and smiled softly. "Hello," she whispered. "I don't know much about fancy things, but I do know lullabies, and how to braid hair, and how to chase away nightmares." The younger girl's eyes flickered with curiosity. The older one frowned but didn't pull away when Clara gently reached for her hand. By evening, Clara cooked a simple stew and told the girls a story by the fire. For the first time in years, laughter echoed faintly in the ranch house. Samuel, leaning silently against the doorframe, watched with a mixture of relief and awe. He had taken a risk in bringing her here. But as he saw his daughter's shoulders ease and their small smiles return, he realized, it was the first time in a long while the house felt like a home again. Weeks passed, and Clara worked tirelessly, not only in the kitchen, but in the lives of the girls. She mended their clothes, sang them to sleep, and listened to their whispered fears. Slowly, the walls they had built began to crumble. The eldest, Anna, tested Clara's patience at first, refusing to call her anything but the stranger. Yet one afternoon, Clara found her crying over a torn dress. Without a word, Clara sat beside her, needle in hand, and stitched it back together. Anna's tears dried into quiet trust. The youngest, Lily, clung to Clara's skirts from the start, her innocent heart quicker to open. One night, when nightmares woke her, Clara cradled her gently and hummed until sleep returned. Samuel watched it all, often from a distance. The rancher who once believed his heart was buried with his late wife now felt something stir again. Not just gratitude, not just relief, but hope. One evening, as the family shared bread at the table, Samuel cleared his throat. "Girls," he said, his voice steady but soft, Clara has given more than I asked. She hasn't just worked, she's cared for us. Do you think we could ask her to stay?" The girls glanced at each other, then at Clara. Anna's lips trembled before she whispered, "Can we call you Mama?" Clara's tears fell before she could answer. The day Clara arrived at the ranch in rags was the day everything changed. What began as desperation became destiny. She had begged for work, but instead she found a home. Months later, the once empty ranch buzzed with laughter. The girls raced through the fields, their braids flying, while Clara's voice carried on the breeze, calling them in for supper. Samuel no longer stood alone on the porch. Clara stood beside him, her hand in his, her smile quiet but full. The townsfolk who once turned their backs now whispered in awe. The beggar woman had become the heart of the richest ranch in the valley. Not because of wealth, not because of beauty, but because of love that could not be bought or traded. On a Sunday morning, the little family rode into town together. Clara wore a simple but clean dress, the girls clung proudly to her sides, and Samuel's gaze never left her. When asked how it all began, Clara only smiled and said, "I came looking for work. Instead, I found a family." The rancher who had lost his wife gained not only a partner but a mother for his children. The woman who had nothing gave everything. And in the quiet corners of the Old West, people still told their story, the beggar in rags who became the heart of a rancher's home.